Good morning. I'll ask you to rise in body and spirit, you beautiful people. So this is a little chorus I wrote last year, and has some involvement. I don't know if we have but I'll sing it through once and then we can join together. Here we go. Gather in, gather in, gather in, all the people, gather in. There's a place here for all people, gather in. 'Cause when I sit beside your spirit, the road seems a little less dim. Gather in, all the people, gather in. Gather in. Nope, oh, there it is. So let's sing it together. Gather in, all the people, gather in. There's a place here for all people, sound good. Gather in all the people, gather in. Maybe we try it again. Here we go. Gather in all the people, gather in. There's a place here for all people. There's a place here for all people, gather in. 'Cause when I sit beside your spirit, the road seems a little less dim. Gather in all your people, gather in. Can we sing gather in all the stories? Gather in all your stories, gather in. There's a place here for all stories. There's a place here, all stories, gather in. 'Cause when I sit beside your spirit, the road seems a little less. Oh, you're sounding good. Gather in all your stories, gather in. Let's sing that one more time. Gather in all the stories. Gather in all your stories, gather in. There's a place here. There's a place here for, yes. 'Cause when I sit beside your spirit, the road seems a little less dim. Gather in all your stories, gather in. Gather in. I'm going to ask you to sing some parts. Can you sing this with me? Here we go. Gather in, gather in, gather in. Can you keep singing that? Oh, you're sounding really good. Sing it out. Gather in. Gather in. Sounding good. I'm going to ask this part to do a different part. Keep going. Gather in. If everyone else keeps singing, gather in. Can you sing all the people? All the people. All the people. You're sounding beautiful. All the people. Gather. All. Oh, I think we're going to need some help here. All the people. All the people. Gather in. The people. Keep singing. All. And we're going to sing something. It can be high or low. Gather in. Or it could be, guys, maybe down. Gather in. Gather in. Keep singing that. Gather. And we have all the people. All the people. Gather in. Gather in. You're sounding good. Let's lock it in. Gather in. Gather in. All right, here we go. Gather in. Gather in. From the top, gather in all the people. Gather in. There's a place here for all people. Gather in. 'Cause when I sit beside your spirit, the road seems a little less dim. Gather in all the people. Gather in. Sounding beautiful, beautiful.
Who dreamed you into being? What story sat in their heart as they imagined what you would become?
Who helped you imagine your story? Who helped you see your place in the story of the world? And what matters the most? Who helped you understand that you could be the author of your own unfolding?
All of which is a way of asking, who listened? Who listened until you could hear yourself speak until you trusted the voice that is your own.
And what about those stories of others? Those kept in cramped spaces of silence for fear of how hard and narrow this world of ours can be. Who needs your listening so their story can be set free? Whose story needs held in your heart as it knows it is worth entering into the world?
We say it's about listening, but really, it's about love. It is through affection that our stories are born. They are wooed into this world. Never forget that, nor this. It is through the loving of stories that we discover they love us back. We light our chalice this morning, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith.
May it be a beacon that helps us remember who we are, where we have been, and illuminate the path forward in co-creating beloved community. Here, now, in this moment, in this new year.
May the stories that sustain and guide us speak to us through this flame. May we be carriers of its light of radical welcome and warmth into wholeness, into liberation, into the one circle of life.
I remember skies
Good morning. Thank you for coming out on this chilly morning. Welcome to this Sunday service of the Eno River Unitarian Universalist Fellowship here in Durham, North Carolina. My name is Reverend Daniel Trollinger, Executive Minister here. And whoever you are, wherever you come from, whatever your race or gender identities, whomever you love, and wherever you are on your spiritual journey and search for truth, meaning, and liberation, we welcome you here. If you are visiting for the first or second time, I invite you to rise and body your spirit so we may give you a warm ERUUF welcome. Thank you for choosing to spend your Sunday morning with us. If you're watching on the live stream, introduce yourself in the chat box if you can. Apparently there's an issue with YouTube at the moment, and so we are streaming on Facebook. Technology, we love it. The Inquirer's class for visitors and newcomers is held between services in the Commons Room, just a note for those that are visiting. If you have children or youth with you, they are welcome to join one of our religious exploration classes as the children are sung out after the time for all ages. Now would be a good time to turn off or into worship mode any devices that you might have on your person. And let's center ourselves and welcome the gifts of this day and community. I'd like to welcome Lana Harkrader for our Weaving Beloved Community segment. Lana?
Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm Lana Harkrader, and I stand here with the leadership of Showing Up for Democracy. Showing Up for Democracy is one of 7 action groups that make up the Justice Ministry Council of ERUUF. During one Sunday each month this coming year, you will hear from one of these action groups. Today is the turn of Showing Up for Democracy, the group that brought you the vote. And we'd like to thank you for your robust participation in you the vote. It was great. There will be more you the votes coming up. Today, our motto for 2025 is Hope Through Action. Joining with other UU congregations across the state is the key to our success. This is a community that shares our values. Showing Up for Democracy wants you to volunteer to join our group of leaders so we can tackle more issues, especially during elections. Standing behind me are the leaders. You recognize them, I'm sure, from our activities during UU the Vote. And they are tireless in their desire for there to be democracy in our country and in North Carolina. In 2023-24, North Carolina UUs and other organizations put continual pressure on the state legislature to expand Medicaid. As a result, 600 North Carolinians now have medical insurance. Joining our efforts to pressure the legislators across the state was the key to this accomplishment. In 2025, one of our major actions will be to pressure the North Carolina legislature to release funding for Leandro, a North Carolina bill that promises support for all underfunded North Carolina schools. We will continue to reject vouchers for private schools made with our tax dollars and honor the North Carolina Constitution to fully fund public schools to meet our children's educational needs. There will be a big demonstration February 22nd in Raleigh in support of releasing the funding for Leandro. This is the day the North Carolina Supreme Court will rehear this case first heard in 1994. Put this on your calendars. Showing Up for Democracy will either arrange carpools or rent a bus for the February 22nd rally. The Justice Ministry Council's action groups receive funding from ERUUF's budget, which is made up of funds you donate each year. We value the efforts of these action groups and hope you become more closely involved in one or more of them. One way you can be involved in Showing Up for Democracy is to attend Friday Action Hour, which is led by UU Minister Reverend Lisa Garcia Sampson. Friday Action Hour is at 11 a.m. every Friday. During this hour, an expert speaks about an issue of concern, and then participants can follow directions to make calls, send emails, and write letters, serving our area of North Carolina. It is immensely satisfying to take action with other UUs from across North Carolina. As we saw in November, Citizens United, passed by the U.S. Supreme Court in 2010, allowed obscenely large donations to influence voters as freedom of speech. This distortion of the concept of freedom of speech should not be allowed in a democracy. These megabucks rob us from trusting elections and democratic institutions. Another big problem we want to address is gerrymandering. North Carolina is one of the most gerrymandered states in the country. This means that although North Carolina voters are equally divided between two major political parties, our state's representation in the U.S. Congress and in state legislature is grossly skewed toward only one of them. As Benjamin Franklin warned us, we have a democracy only if we can maintain it. Democracy requires vigilance and our voices. Our hope as an ERUUF action group is to help you stay informed and active. UU Justice North Carolina is one of our major resources to be informed and active. Others include Common Cause and Democracy North Carolina. Please visit our table after the coffee hour or during coffee hour to add your name to those who want to connect with Showing Up for Democracy. Let us know if you want to join the group of leaders, and please join us in Raleigh on February 22nd to support Leandrew funding for underfinanced North Carolina schools. Thank you very much.
Now it's the time for all ages. If I can get unstuck here. I want to invite all our little ones, our medium ones, and our large ones who are young at heart to come on down to share a story with me. Don't be shy. There's plenty of room. Come on. Okay. Come on down. Wow. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Our story today talks about the wonderful things we can notice when we open our heart up to wonder. And this little boy, Max, opens his heart up to wonder, and he notices that there's something really beautiful that's been with him all along. He just had to have it pointed out to him. So when we're listening to our story, I want us to feel our hearts and allow it to open up with wonder too. Max and the tag along moon. One night, as Max was leaving Grandpa's house, he reached up to give Grandpa a big hug goodbye. In the sky, behind Grandpa appeared a big, fine moon. Look, Grandpa, the moon. That old moon will always shine for you, on and on. Grandpa and Max gazed quietly at the big moon together as it embraced them in soft yellow light. Max smiled at the moon and Grandpa, then climbed into the car. "Bye-bye, Grandpa. Bye-bye, moon." As the car pulled away, Max kept his eyes on Grandpa until he disappeared from sight, and all he saw was the moon. Max kept his eyes on that moon, waiting for it to disappear too. The long ride home was swervy and curvy, this way and that way, all the way, and the moon seemed to tag along. Max giggled as he watched the beautiful bright orb flicker through the passing trees, trailing behind the car as it traveled home this way and that, playing peekaboo with him. Up a hill, down a hill, the moon was ever there. Over a bridge, around a curve, the moon bounced along. Around a tree, past a field of sleeping cows, the moon stayed quietly with Max. Through a small town with roundabout streets, Max gazed at the moon as the moon kept up. At the mouth of a tunnel and out the other end, Max smiled when he saw the moon was there, waiting. Dark clouds tumbled across the night sky. The stars and nightingales all faded away. Max searched the darkness and wondered, where is the moon? Does anybody have any ideas? Where do you think the moon is?
Behind the clouds?
You think behind the clouds? Where else? Yeah?
It is, because I saw half of the moon over those clouds.
Okay. If he's in a cave, he wouldn't see it because it's outside. That's true. Anyone else have an idea about where the moon went? Okay. Yes.
Well, it's probably because, there's probably too much air around it, and it's making a current, and it's blowing so they can't see it.
Yeah, maybe there's too much air making a current blowing so they can't see the moon. That's a great idea, too. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Nice. Anything else? Any other thoughts? Okay, let's see what the story says. Where is the moon? Grandpa said it would always shine for me. Finally home, Max took one last look up at the empty night sky. I guess that old moon couldn't shine for me all the way home. How do you think Max feels right now? Sad. Anything else? Disappointed. Confused. Yes. Critical. Could be. Could be critical. Let's see. Upstairs in bed, the room was dark. Max felt alone. He missed Grandpa. He missed that tag-along moon. Then, slowly, very slowly, Max's bedroom began to fill with a soft yellow glow. The clouds faded away, and the moon peeked through. How do you think he feels now? Happy. Excited. Anything else? Maybe hopeful? Surprised? Relieved? Max gazed up at that magic ball of light and thought about what Grandpa said. That old moon will always shine for me, on and on. Max knew that whenever he saw the moon, he would think of Grandpa on, and he slept soundly, embraced in the soft yellow light. I hope that the rest of your day is filled with wonder And now you're going to continue on your progress with religious exploration classes.
Peace, salam, shalom. 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 Would you please take this time to turn and greet your neighbor, especially someone that you don't know?
Wendy. Thank you. That was gorgeous. Thank you so much. Good morning. Good to see you both. Good to see you. My mic is on. Please join me now in the spirit of meditation and prayer. Spirit of life, we enter this time together with a longing to know connection and community. As we weave together the tales of who we are, our sense of separation fades, and the web of oneness is revealed. Let us drink from the stories that sustain us all, as we acknowledge the gifts of this day. We are blessed with the space and opportunity to live out our common values, to bring equity, justice, and compassion into our daily lives, to resist all that threatens the earth and her people, and to embrace our dream of a world community of peace and justice for all. Each week, we also hold in our hearts joys and concerns, be they global, local, or here in our ERUUF community. This morning, we hold concerns and challenges in the broader community. We hold all those affected by the ongoing conflicts in Sudan, Gaza, Ukraine, and around the world. We also hold those impacted by recent random acts of violence in cities, near and far. We also hold the memory and honor the legacy of James Earl Carter, 39th President of the United States. We hold in our hearts Nan Walker, honoring an anniversary of her partner's passing. We hold in our hearts Claire Williamson, who sends prayers to Donna Warner, who is mourning the loss of dear friend Ross Vaughn. We hold in our hearts the heart and soul of the world. May we find ways to remember the power of love to heal and transform. Let us take a moment to also hold those joys and possibilities that lay before us in life. Today, Enza Starr celebrates a joy of visiting ERUUF for the third time from her home at UUFA in Athens, Georgia. We lift up other joys about the promise of a new year, and may we continue to share warmth throughout these moments on the journey together. In a spirit of unity and compassion, together we breathe and listen and appreciate the gift of community together in silence. Amen. Ashe. Blessed be.
Our meditation hymn this morning is number 1003, Where Do We Come From? In the Teal hymnal. The lyrics are also on the screen, and we're going to sing it as a round. So you'll sing each line twice through. We'll start with this side, and then you guys will follow on this side. Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where do mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery, 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 life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going?
This morning's sermon will be in two parts with a reading in the middle. The theme for January is the practice of story. I invite you to notice how the different parts and pieces speak to one another and speak to you today in the story of now. Do you all remember the tale of Rip Van Winkle? It's a classic short story by Washington Irving where a farmer named Rip Van Winkle is given a magical drink, causing him to go into a deep sleep for 20 years. When he wakes up, he returns to his village to find everything has changed. The story highlights how time can pass quickly and major change unfold, especially when we're oblivious or asleep. Time does not wait. The world will keep moving and changing. This motif of sleep and wakefulness shows up throughout literature, poetry, film, mythology. For example, there's the piece by Sufi poet Rumi, Don't Go Back to Sleep. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the door still where the two worlds touch. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep. Rumi reminds us that life is always transforming. The movement of the breeze at dawn brings with it the secret of the passage of time, of new beginnings, of whispers from the beyond. Life is precious. Many of us live in autopilot, half asleep, but can we wake up? How do we do this? Whether describing life experiences in forms of art and literature, or just sharing our own journey, stories are a language of connection, connecting us to ourselves and to life. Stories help us learn from the past, understand the present, and imagine possibilities for the future. Stories are not just tales, they're mirrors reflecting the world as we know it, or a window into other worlds and experiences. So what do these two stories have in common? Well, on the surface, they both relate to this theme of sleep and wakefulness. One is a short poem, the other is a short story. They both ask questions, either directly or indirectly. What are you awake to or not? And what do you really want? Early January is a time for new beginnings, which often involves looking back on the past year, setting goals for the new one. On this threshold of looking back and forward at the same time, there's an opportunity for reflection, the story of now. What led us to this moment, this now? What gifts did we gather along the way? What challenges did we face, and what did we learn from that? How did we grow? What is wanting to be created now? To explore these questions together, I'm going to offer a simple template to use for preparing to craft the story of now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's a way to explore your own story to discover what you're paying attention to and what you wish to create. You can reflect on this in present time, then maybe expand on it later. So for your own spiritual journey, what are 5 key moments that impacted your life? Who you are. 5 key moments. These may be milestones, discoveries, crossroads. In my own life, one key moment was moving to Durham in 1989. I have wondered what my life would have been like if I did not make this choice. All the people I would have never met, the highs and lows experiences, all would have been somewhere else. The hypothetical road not taken. It fills me with a sense of deep appreciation for my past self in making the decision to move to a town that has transformed significantly in the past 30 plus years, as have I. Next step on the reflection template. 4 core beliefs that you operate by. Fundamental values, pillars of your own faith, 4 ways that define how you see the world. In my own path, there's multiple core values which are intertwined in the tapestry of my faith. One of the key ones, though, is love. Love is caring for life, for others, for the earth. Love is equity and justice. Love not just as a feeling, but as acts of compassion to serve something greater than myself. I'm always wanting to learn ways to learn more about how to awaken love in the world. Next step on the reflection template, 3. 3 people that have impacted your life, your path. This could be a parent, a teacher, a friend, a mentor. I know it can be hard to narrow down, but for now, just 3 people, including why and how. How did they influence you into becoming more of you? As noted in our opening words, who listened until you could hear yourself speak, until you trusted the voice of you as your own? For me, one that comes to mind is a college professor and mentor, Dr. Ira Zepp. He was head of the religion department and a scholar on the life and work of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. He helped me at a formative age in wrestling with issues around faith, religion, justice. He literally helped me see the world in new ways. Next step on the intention reflection template, 2 intentions for the new year. In the context of your spiritual journey, what are 2 intentions you would like to activate in 2025? Now, this is not the half-hearted, I'm going to eat healthy that you give up on in 3 weeks. Here's a couple ways to approach creating 2 intentions. What gift would you like to share with this community? What quality of love would you like to embody more fully in your life this year? Now, I know quality of love can be interpreted in many ways. For my spiritual growth, one quality of love I would like to expand in 2025 is listening. Listening as spiritual practice. Listen to life, listen to others, listen to all that is. Listen as a quality of love. Now, this leads to the next step on the reflection template. One action step you will take this week to move forward and begin writing a new story of you. Who would you like to be in your own life, in this community, in the world? One action step this week towards your intention. In September, as I began my sabbatical, I engaged in a unique type of fasting to reset. A digital detox. No screens, no phone, no computer, no screens at all. I did this for an entire week. I invite you to give it 24 hours. Just try it, then repeat it monthly for a whole year and see what you notice. What I discovered during the digital detox is I appreciated a break from having to track so much information. Then when I returned to the screens later, I was acutely aware of how much time I did or did not spend engaged on those screens and all the content they provide. It created interior space to listen more fully on many different levels. Whatever you choose as an action step, know that this is a strong way to empower an intention to bring a goal to life by creating one small, repeatable habit that moves you forward towards writing a new story of now. Stories from our life journey reveal the common threads we share with one another. The personal mirrors the collective. The collective validates the personal. The two together tell one story. Whether we encounter stories in books, film, song, or in shared life experiences, stories reveal to us who we are, where we've been, and where we're going. Now, remember that Rip Van Winkle story? There's an often overlooked detail. There was a sign at the inn at the little town on the Hudson from which Rip ventured. When he went up the mountain before his long sleep, the sign had a picture of King George III of England. When he came down 20 years later, the sign had a picture of George Washington, the first president of the United States. When Rip saw the picture of George Washington, he was completely lost. He had no idea who this guy was. Now, this reveals to us the most striking fact about the story is not that he slept for 20 years, but that he slept through a revolution. This detail is lifted out by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in a graduation speech he delivered at Oberlin College in 1965. The speech is entitled "Remaining Awake Through a Great Revolution." I invite you to listen now as Johann shares some excerpts from that speech.
There are all too many people who, in some great period of social change, fail to achieve the new mental outlooks that the new situation demands. There is nothing more tragic than to sleep through a revolution. The wind of change is blowing, and we can see in our day and our age a significant development. The great challenge facing every individual today is to remain awake through this social revolution. In order to remain awake first, we are challenged to achieve a world perspective. Anyone who feels that we can live in isolation today, anyone who feels that we can live without being concerned about other individuals and other nations is sleeping through a revolution. All mankind is tied together. All life is interrelated. And we are all caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Second, we are challenged to work passionately and unrelentingly to get rid of social, racial injustice in all its dimensions. We must face the honest fact that we still have a long, long way to go before the problem of social, racial injustice is solved. Let nobody give you the impression that the problem of racial injustice will work itself out. Somewhere, we must come to see that human progress never rolls in on wheels of inevitability. It comes through the tireless efforts and the persistent work of dedicated individuals. Without this hard work, time becomes an ally of the primitive forces of social stagnation. So, we must help time and realize that the time is always right to do right. If we are to remain awake through a social revolution, we must get rid of violence, hatred, and war. Anyone who feels that the problems of mankind can be solved through violence is sleeping through a revolution. I do not wish to minimize the complexity of the problems to be faced, but we shall not have the courage, the insight, to deal with such matters unless we are prepared to undergo a mental and spiritual change. We must fix our visions not merely on the negative expulsion of war, but upon the positive affirmation of peace. We sing a little song in our struggle. You've heard it. We shall overcome. I can still sing that song because I have faith in the future. Yes, we shall overcome. Because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair the stone of hope. Let us stand up. Let us be a concerned generation. Let us remain awake through a great revolution.
The prophetic voice of Dr. King reverberates to us today. He adds to the theme of sleep and wakefulness in a new context, a meta-story he holds of a compelling vision for a new future. To remain awake, he outlines some key elements. First, we are challenged to adopt a world perspective. All life is interrelated, and we are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. This could serve as a working definition of the UU value of interdependence. Secondly, Dr. King says we are challenged to work passionately for addressing racial injustice in all its dimensions. Then he adds a key component to his meta-story. Yes, we shall overcome because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. This is often quoted and attributed to Dr. King. In fact, he's modifying a quote from a sermon in 1853 by Theodore Parker, Unitarian minister and abolitionist. Parker states, "I do not pretend to understand the moral universe. The arc is a long one. My eye reaches but little ways. I cannot calculate the curve and complete the figure by the experience of sight. I can divine it by conscience. From what I see, I am sure it bends towards justice." The story continues to evolve, though. In a 2013 speech commemorating the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington, President Barack Obama offered this version. The arc of the universe may bend towards justice, but it doesn't bend on its own. In this, he's acknowledging something vital that Dr. King emphasized in his own speech and in his life's work. Dr. King states, "Human progress comes through the tireless efforts and the persistent work of dedicated individuals. Without this hard work, time becomes an ally of the primitive forces of social stagnation." The moral of the story? We have some work to do. We have some bending to do. This leads us back into the story of now. Individually, each on our own journeys, collectively as a community, a society, part of the larger human story. What can we contribute to the narrative that is unfolding now? How can we help bend the arc of history towards justice? How do we find the level of hope that Dr. King inspires? That was over 50 years ago, and still some things have changed, and some things haven't changed at all. Now, from the vantage point of January 2025, it looks like the road in the next decade may be full of some challenges. Who gets to write the story of now? Who determines the direction of this story? Is it the handful of billionaires who seem to be making all the choices right now? Or is it the 8 billion people in the world, the power of the human collective, that gets to choose a different direction? What other meta-stories inspire hope for a more equitable world, the promise of tomorrow, a brighter future? I'm sure you can think of some because we have many visionaries in our world today. This fall, I visited a friend of mine in Maine, Robert Atkinson, a professor and author. We stayed up late several nights talking of big questions facing the world and the cycles of history as envisioned by various faith traditions. He wrote a book on this subject called The Story of Our Time, From Duality to Interconnectedness to Oneness. A deeply thoughtful narrative of conscious evolution drawn from the continuous wisdom of the world's religions. The story of our time inspires hope as it traces love's unifying power through history and in our midst today. Beneath the illusion of separation, humanity is one family. Regardless of apparent setbacks, this book illustrates how a big picture view of human progress points to peaceful unity as our ultimate destination. Dr. Atkinson continues, how we get there depends on the stories we live by and the actions we take. How we get there depends on the stories we live by and the actions we take. This definitely resonates with Dr. King's vision. Dr. Atkinson holds a grounded optimism that regardless of the outcome of elections or the turn of world events that may portend more suffering and separation from wholeness, more injustice and inequity, he argues for the compelling power of love to transform individual and collective hearts to the point where wholeness and oneness become inevitable. Like Dr. King and President Obama, Dr. Atkins' visionary work affirms that the long moral arc of the universe bends towards justice, but it requires work, attention, and determination of the collective to bend it towards justice. It doesn't happen on its own. Weaving together these meta stories about possibilities for the future and the transformative power of love helps reveal the web of oneness and wholeness that binds us together. Humanity is one family. These stories also call us into action. As individuals, what quality of love do we choose to embody in the story of now? As a community, what can we create as a people who care and are committed to justice now? In the turning of the new year, may we have the courage to know that there's a story of the world waiting to be written, a story of hope, a story of possibility, a story of equity and wholeness, a story of now. Whether history or personal journey, stories are a bridge that connect us all, reminding us of our shared humanity, our shared oneness. In the words of youth poet laureate Remel Kamran, the power of story rests in the heart of vulnerability and community. Each individual bears a story aching to be heard and to be recognized. Stories are powerful because they foster connection and plant the seeds for community to blossom. Our own stories and the stories of others are windows to recognizing how humanity is both broken and imperfect. But through taking the time to engage in conversation with one another and listening to each other's voices and calls for justice, we can mend humanity's wounds and create something beautiful. We can mend humanity's wounds and create something beautiful. May it be so. Amen. Ashe. Blessed be. It is now time for the offering. It takes a lot to create and sustain a thriving community. Please paste your tangible gifts in the pouches as they're passed around, or point your device to the QR code on the screen and go from there. Thank you for your ongoing support and generosity.
This is us for these times. There is more to do than pray. This is us, we don't mind. Help carry you all the way. How do we get there together past our greatest fears? You can find love at the river. She's waiting for you there. This is us for these times when the stormy veil won't pass. This is us, all in kind, even though we may not last. How do we get there together? Wounds don't always heal, but you can find love at the river. She knows just how you feel. This is us for these times. Let us pass around the light. This is us. We can find where hope shines through the night. How do we get there together? With every breath we share, you will find love at the river. Oh, you will find love at the river. You will find love at the river. You'll find peace at the river. I believe there's hope for the hopeless and joy for the hopeless. Peace, oh, you'll find love at the river, but how do we get there together, past all our doubts and fear? You will find love at the river. She's waiting for you there.
Amen. We are so blessed with many gifts, the gift of action, the gift of music, the gift of community. Thank you for all your gifts and being here today. We now have our closing hymn.
Please rise and bow to your spirit. Join me in singing Blue Boat Home, number 1064 in your teal hymnal, and the lyrics are on the screen. and say, I've been sailing all my life now. Never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in a beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
Our closing words today come from Reverend Alicia Ford, when we pause to remember. When we take a moment to shed all of that and hear our stories, hear and see each other into existence, into community, then we are living into the promise of building the world we dream about. In this spirit we commit. In this spirit we pray. Go in peace. Go in love.